Imagine. America was still a young country. Independence had been declared, but the legal system was still not fully established. People were committing crimes, and the government was struggling to figure out how to punish them. Prisons were just beginning to be built, but these prisons and punishments were so strange and harsh compared to what we have today. So what did people encounter in these first prisons? What kinds of punishments were applied, and how did these punishments impact society? Here is the little-known, often surprising story of America's oldest prison and penal system. America's first prisons did not just punish criminals. They were also used to discipline society, instill fear, and maintain order. These prisons were generally small, dark, and unsanitary. People often had to struggle with hunger, cold, and poor hygiene. Criminals were not only punished but also ostracized from society, and their reputations were destroyed. But the interesting part is, there wasn't just imprisonment. The punishments applied in the first American prisons would often seem strange to people today. For example, some criminals were made to sit on a stool of shame, a chair of humiliation, and punished publicly. This was done both to degrade the criminal and to warn the public. In addition, criminals were sometimes chained, left in dark cells for days or weeks. Some were chained in public to be shamed, especially for crimes like theft, gambling, or disrupting public order. Punishments were designed to create both physical and psychological pressure. Another shocking practice was the use of public stocks and the pillory. The criminal's hands and head would be secured in a wooden structure and exposed to public ridicule throughout the day. People would sometimes throw food at them and sometimes stones. This punishment was not just physical, but entirely a psychological torment. However, prisons and punishments did not always reform criminals. Many times criminals returned, and the public saw that despite the harsh punishments, order could not be fully maintained. Yet this system laid the foundational stones of America's early understanding of law and discipline. An interesting detail: some prisons were designed to cater to different segments of society. That is, the criminal's class or social status influenced the type of punishment applied. The wealthy could sometimes escape punishment by paying, while the poor were subjected to harsher and more humiliating penalties. This clearly highlighted the inequality in society. Additionally, some prisons did not just house criminals, but also attempted to serve as educational centers for children and youth who committed minor offenses. But most of the time, these attempts failed. Prison conditions were built on fear and pain rather than education and rehabilitation. All of this helps us understand how America's legal system and concept of punishment evolved. No matter how different modern prisons and justice systems are today, the experiences in America's first prisons were among the most important in shaping society's relationship with crime and punishment. Imagine. Today, prisons focus on rehabilitation and human rights, while America's first prisons were entirely based on discipline, fear, and shame. People tested their physical and psychological limits there, and society learned lessons from these experiences. If this video caught your interest, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.